Hello, algebra students, and welcome back to another video lesson. Today we're starting a new chapter, chapter 11, all about polynomials. You are going to want to look for that chapter 11 packet if you want to print it out. If not, just take notes somewhere else. That's fine too. You will see the chapter 11 packet linked in number 4 where the practice sets are because you're practicing out of the packet. So if you need it, there it is. Once again, we got a screen over here, so if I don't look, no panic. A couple of vocab words that we got to focus on first. A polynomial is an expression that contains one or more terms. Terms being the operative word, which means we need to define terms. A term are numbers and or variables that are being multiplied together. That creates a term if it's being multiplied together. When we look at this in an equation, in an expression, terms are separated by an addition or a subtraction sign. Okay, so if we look at this example under here, how many terms are in this polynomial? How many? Well, hopefully you answered 5. Here's a term. Here's a term. Here's a term, here's a term, and here is a term, right? 5x squared, 5 times x squared. So that's a term because they're being multiplied. But the minute we separate it with an addition or that subtraction sign, it separates it into different terms. So that one has what we call 5 terms. Now, what we're going to be focusing on in today's lesson is how do we add and subtract polynomials together. And here's the big reminder. Only terms in which the variables are exactly the same can we add and subtract them together. Only when the terms are exactly the same. 5x plus 10x is 15x. Now think about it like dogs and cats. I can only add dogs and cats, dogs to dogs and cats to cats. Right, so I've got a bunch of examples that we're going to work through together. I'm going to pop in some questions along the way. But again, write these down so that you have a good understanding of what we're doing. So we've got this expression, 2x squared plus 5x minus 6 plus the quantity 5x squared minus 7x plus 10. Okay, and it's to simplify. When you see simplify, you're bringing like terms together. There's no equal sign, so our answer should not have an equal sign either. Couple of things that you want to take note of. All right, first, I'm adding the first expression to the second expression. So I'm adding them together, which means I can only add like terms. The second piece, we always look in front of each term to figure out if it's positive or negative. So this is a negative 6. This is a negative 7x. So you just got to be careful with those. All right, so let's combine like terms by adding. You will often see me do this. That's 2x squared. That's 5x squared. I put 2 lines because they both have x squared. If I combine those two together, 2 plus 5 of them is 7 of that term. 7x squared. 2 cats plus 5 cats is 7 cats. Then I go to the next one, right? This one has 1 variable, this one has 1. So a positive 5 plus a negative 7. That gives me a negative 2x. Okay. And then last we have what are called constants when they don't have any variable. A negative 6 plus this positive 10. Negative 6 plus a positive 10 gives me plus 4. And if we look, none of these have the exact same variable, so we say that is simplified. Combining like terms. Now this one's slightly different because we have to remember what the distributive property is. Anytime that you see a number out in front of the parentheses, that means to distribute to anything on the inside of the parentheses or to multiply. So 5 times negative 3x cubed is negative 15x to the third. And 5 times negative 4x is negative 20x. So that's how that first parenthesis changed, by using distributing the 5. And then I'm going to bring down the other two pieces, plus x cubed plus 4x. Why don't you pause the video and see if you can combine like terms, and what do you get for an answer? Now, I made a mistake. This should not be squared. This is just an x. Hopefully you caught that. Now try and simplify. All right, start with the highest one. 1, 2, there's 3 x's, x cubed. Negative 15x cubed plus, if there's not a number here, it's a 1. So plus 1 gives me negative 14x cubed. And then negative 20x plus 4x. Negative 20 plus 4 is negative 16x. Now, even though these both have an x, one of them is x to the third and one of them is x to the first, meaning they are not like terms. I cannot combine them. So we stop at that point. Next one. Now we're subtracting, right? How do I subtract when everything else is in a parenthesis? Well, notice this first polynomial, this first expression, we can kind of leave it as is. When you see a subtraction sign, you have to remember you're subtracting each one of these elements. So what I would suggest, and what I like to do, is I like to distribute by multiplying by each piece by a negative. Positive 7x to the fourth times a negative gives me negative 7x to the fourth. Positive 5x times that negative gives me negative 5x. Negative 3 times that negative turns this into a positive 3. Right? And now I'm just going to add that first expression to these, because I distributed the negative sign to everything. So 4x to the fourth, so this would have like 4 underlines, and so would this one. 4 of them plus negative 7 gives me negative 3x to the fourth. 6x, negative 5x leaves me with a positive 1x, or just plus x. You can put the 1 there, not a big deal. And then negative 5 plus a 3 gives me a negative 2. Those cannot be combined any further. Ooh. So that's our final solution. Now, again, remember to distribute that negative so that it's easier potentially to work with, and then you're just adding. Now, the last example brings in something where we're combining all of these methods together, and then we got to talk about some other pieces that are happening. What's our first step here? Hopefully, you remember that if there's a number up front, we have to distribute. So I'm going to multiply each piece by 3. 3x cubed minus 12x plus 3. Plus the second quantity, which is x squared minus 8 plus 5x. Now, when we write these and we write our answers and simplify them, we want to try and go from the highest exponent down to the least, just the more accurate representation. So this has got a third. 1, 2, 3. Are there any other terms that have x to the third? And there's not. So therefore, we just have 3x to the third. Then if I'm looking, I've got an x squared. Any other terms have an x squared? Nope. So that's just an x squared that we bring down. If there's nothing else to add to it, we just bring it down. Here's a negative 12x and a positive 5x. Negative 12 plus 5 is negative 7x. Here's a constant that doesn't have a variable, so a positive 3 and a negative 8 gives me negative 5. If you notice, I don't have any like terms, and they're in descending order, 3, 2, 1, nothing. So that would be our final answer, simplified. So if you have questions as you're going through this today, I hope you took down these examples and notes. As you're practicing, if something doesn't make sense, please make sure that you reach out. Otherwise, until I see you next time, everyone, stay safe.